Right. What's up, y'all? Hope everybody's having a good day so far. Welcome back. It's Tuesday. It's a good day. Um, just checking in on everybody. Hope everybody's having a good week. I know it's middle of May, so we're getting sort of like towards the end of high school, but also, preparing for the summer. So I wanted to just jump on and just check in with everybody, see how everybody's doing. I know. I didn't really receive any questions, so I love that and I don't love that because I want to make sure I'm touching on exactly what I feel like would be beneficial to y'all, but also, want to make sure I can also provide value if you don't have any questions right away. So I did pose a question in the group yesterday, asking sort of what some of the biggest struggles that you all are having as parents in this journey, and I had some really great responses. And so I think it'd be really cool to tap into that really fast. And kind of have some dialogue on that, and then we can kind of go from there. So I'm gonna pull up a couple of those responses that I got. Um, And I think so. Actually, real fast, I'm gonna just tell you about my day real fast. So, this week we are doing our exit meetings for our players. So, every season, every year, you will have your daughter when they play in college will have sort of like a exit meeting where we have some time and speak on the season, what they felt went well, what they felt didn't go well, what we as coaches felt went well, and what didn't go well. I think also we talk about you know, do they have any plans to transfer? And then also the other part of that is if you don't, then how do you plan to continue to grow over the summer as you come back for next year? And so we've been having some really great meetings and really great conversations. And what I've been really proud of is the ladies who come and ask additional questions. And I think like the more I think about this yesterday from today, I think there's a distinct difference between the group yesterday and the group today in a way where they wanted to ask more questions. And so, I think as are on this journey of helping your athlete get recruited, I think there's a couple things that I think are really important to this process. And one of them is building relationships with the coaches. And I think building confidence in yourself to communicate when, even though we have that relationship, there might be some things that I wish were differently or I wish were better from a coach's perspective and also from a player perspective. So I think as a player, I would love for your athletes to become more empowered in their ability to um, articulate when they don't feel the most comfortable in the space that we're providing as coaches, and then also giving us feedback on how we could be better as coaches for them. And I think that's something that a lot of athletes struggle to speak on. Um, and so when I work with athletes, in my 360 athlete program, my one-on-one coaching, we start with this process of like understanding our personality. And so I've talked about this before, but we have four different types of athletes. We have a doer, we have an influencer, we have a stabilizer, and we have an improver. In most programs, especially in the sport of softball, a lot of our athletes are more of the stabilizers and the improvers. So what that means is they're on a spectrum of sort of being behind the scenes sort of athletes. So actually, now that I'm on a Zoom, let me see if I can pull this up real fast. Yes, 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 yes. Shout out to Zoom because it allows me to pull this up for y'all. So this is great. Um, Let me pull it up for y'all real fast. And I think this will help you as a parent understand how to help your athlete navigate this process as well. So make this bigger. Oh, Chat GPT, go away. Um, all right. So Um, I always talk about this concept of being four types of athletes. So there are doers, okay? Those are there are influencers, there are stabilizers, and there are improvers. And most softball athletes fall into a stabilizer and improver mentality. There's a few things you should know about this spectrum as a whole, right? I would say that what we should know is that the doers and the influencers are more active, upfront people. These are the athletes that we probably want our daughters to be a lot of times, is the ones who are willing to be out loud and, command the field and have great composure, right? And speak up, for themselves, but also like not allow the overthinking and the critical thinking stop them from making things happen on the field. So becoming doers, right? But more times than not, we have more of the stabilizers and the improvers. And what that means is they're more reflective individuals. So they're more on the lines of like, how do I keep the peace? How do I stay sort of not in the background, but in the background? How do I not ruffle too many feathers? How do I just kind of be a good athlete, work hard, and hopefully people notice? And then the improvers are definitely the ones who are like, for sure, the hardworking ones that are like, hey, my hard work will pay off. I'm also really hard on myself, so sometimes I don't see that I'm doing good enough. So I'm not willing to put that out there. And so most of our athletes, especially softball athletes, live in this reflective piece, reflective state. And so why recruiting can be challenging for these athletes is because number one, they believe that their hard work is enough, that it'll show because of their hard work. Or number two, they are perfectionists and they don't believe that what they're doing is good enough. So it's hard to even start putting themselves out there. So when it comes to like finding a coach and finding a team, I think what's really important is understanding the coach and kind of what their dynamic is as a leader within the team. And then also as your athlete, what's their dynamic and how do they empower themselves within that space? What I think is really important to understand is that because we have a lot of athletes who fit more on the I would say people side. If you can see like the gosh percentages, what it shows you is that there's 60% of the population who are people focused individuals. So what that means is that they're really big on relationships. What you'll also see is that for the softball community specifically, most of them fall along the reflective, which is more of like 31 to 32%. So that's like 63% of the population. What that means is they are connectors and they require trust. So in order for your athletes to excel in certain environments, they have to feel like they trust the person or they have to want to build relationships. Now, unfortunately, that takes time. So what's really important as your athletes are navigating which coaches to select and which teams and programs to go to, they have to be able to ask some of the hard questions around, well, what is a day in the life? What is the structure that you provide as a coach? What is the dynamics that you bring to the team as far as like your attitude and effort? Okay, so we have some coaches who are a little bit more hardcore, a little bit more passive aggressive, a little bit more upbeat. Then you have some coaches who are a little bit more in the background, right? And so if you have an improver athlete, they need a coach that has a structure, probably more like a doer, because what that helps them accomplish the goal that they have in mind, even though maybe they don't want to put themselves out there at first. So there's a lot of depth to this process, but I kind of wanted to show this because I think what's really important as we navigate finding the right fit for our team, for our players, it is important that you be empowered to realize that like not every coach is the coach for your daughter and not every player is the player for that coach. And so when you're in this process, don't be at the mercy of just finding a scholarship or a recruited or a coach that's recruitable that wants to recruit you. No, you have to find the coach that's going to bring the best out of your athletes. So circling this back to the girls today compared to the girls yesterday. So the girls today did a much better job of saying, hey, coach, what I could use to help me excel more in this program would be this. I need to be pushed harder. I need clearer instructions. I need examples. I need someone every now and again to just give me encouragement to acknowledge things that I'm already doing. And just imagine how much better your daughter would be able to be and be a competitor if they're able to articulate that to somebody. I think a lot of athletes don't. So I would say yesterday where we struggled was, we'd ask, what can a coaching staff do to help your daughter get better in their journey for next year and excel next year? And a lot of them were like, well, I can't think of anything. And that's one of the worst responses. I hate that response because there are things that you can do, but it could be something along the lines of they're a stabilizer, so they don't want to ruffle any feathers. So um, in my programming, like this is, we spend a lot of time on this because I want our athletes to be empowered to, I would say know who they are, know their strengths, but know what they need so that they can be successful and know how to communicate that and understand different coaching styles to be able to understand how do I approach that particular coach to be able to get them to get what I need out of this sort of experience. So I wanted to kind of start with that real fast. So um, in my coursework or in my 360 athlete program, we really spend a lot of time on this to make sure that we can kind of empower our athletes. The second thing I wanted to just touch base on real fast, I'm gonna stop sharing, is some of the questions that I asked yesterday. And I think there are some themes that come from the responses that I got. So, a couple of things that people were saying was that, like, how do I get my athlete, or one of my hardest things is getting my athlete to post, to be consistent in their posting, getting my athlete to send emails. And so those are really big indicators that they are the more improver type personality athletes. So what that means is that they are hard on themselves. They're overthinkers. They're perfectionists. So a lot of times what happens if they don't have a blueprint that I'm doing it the right way, then it's the start that stops me. So like if it's a matter of like it's not perfect or it's not the way that I think it needs to be, or I don't have an example of what that looks like, then I'm not going to put it out there. That is a true component for a lot of athletes. It is a really big thing, especially like I said, for softball players, right? And so some people would say that they're procrastinating or being lazy. And no, that's not the case. It really is a plaguing sort of anxiousness that comes over them to put themselves out there with a product that's not that they feel is their best. I relate to that because I'm also this type of person. I'm more of a improver and a doer. That's my personality sort of makeup. So I lack sort of the relationship side in a lot of ways. So like doing these real talks actually kind of helps me because I have to interact with people. So I'm building this muscle up. But also on the other side of that is that it really helps me relate to your athletes who I always give this example that as a improver, what happens is I write lists every day, and my lists are probably like to-do lists are like 20 things long, right? And the average person can do maybe two or three things, accomplish two or three things on their list in a day. And but the improver can probably accomplish more. They could probably get to like 8 to 10 things that they get done. So I can check off a lot of things on my list. But unfortunately, instead of me thinking about the 8 to 10 things that I did well or I got done that day, I think about the 12 things I did not do. Right. So imagine that being your athlete's mental capacity. So they got the camera out, right? They got out the equipment to do some hitting and recording. They actually filmed themselves recording. They watched the film. They did all four things. And then they said, oh, there was something about that swing I didn't like. There was something about that angle that I didn't like. I didn't like how the ball flew off the bat. They have all these things that they're saying to themselves it's not good enough to be able to post. And so what do? Don't post, right? And so that's the thing that I want you guys to realize as parents that your athletes are most likely going through in this journey. And so it's a cycle that can be broken. It's a cycle that can be fixed. I would say not fixed, but like trained out of. But it takes time. And so what I would encourage you to do is I have kind of two things with that is um, a program like mine's, where the 360 athlete program, we spend time really understanding those articulate details or meticulous details of this sort of process so that we can work through how to actually create the action that comes behind it. I also provide them with examples of emails, with examples of how to build a YouTube channel, with examples of how to build social media so that they have what does it look like to do it right and they feel more comfortable putting themselves out there, but also within the program, they have access to me, which allows them to also um, get feedback. Like it's like, okay, what are you seeing as a Division I coach who recruits every day? What are you seeing as this email? Does it seem like it would be something that coaches would want to look at or no, right? So I think like having that sort of experience having someone that's a mentor that can do that for them is really valuable to this sort of program. So I wanted to kind of throw that out there. And I said the second part of that is if it's something that's even more paralyzing, I actually have an amazing athlete that I used to coach in high school who's now a clinical psychologist, a PhD, with her own practice where she actually helps athletes, who are struggling with performance anxiety or who are struggling with transitioning from college to the real life. So I also have that resource as well that I'll put in the group a little bit later. But I think in general, for me, it's all about how do I be a resource to y'all with the struggles that you're struggling with, the hardest things you're dealing with. It's a routine habit and behavior that your athletes have that need to be retrained. And so the best thing you can do for them is provide them with the resources that help them retrain those things because it's not going to even go away just in sports. And it's not just happening in sports, probably happening in school and everywhere else. And it's only going to continue to happen until they find ways to recreate sort of the narrative in their head around what is perfect and what's not, and what needs to happen and what doesn't need to happen. So, um, I put out this sort of notice the other day that I am offering the 360 Athlete program before I launch it to the public. I'm offering it to people who are in this space at 50% discount through Sunday. So if anyone's interested, feel free to send me a DM. Again, I'm not going to tell you guys on that right now, but I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that that was something that we had available to your athletes. So it's a 3-month program. We work through the mental performance side, the identity side. We work through the recruiting side. I have a hitting part of that process as well. And I have a space specifically for parents that I'm building out where if you're in the program, you kind of get the more one-on-one access to me to help your daughter navigate this sort of process. So again, if you want to learn more, feel free to send me a direct message. But if not, it's all good too. I'm glad to always come here on Tuesdays and speak to y'all. So with that, I wanted to end by I have a couple of social media things I wanted to show y'all before we leave. A couple of girls that I wanted to recognize as, oops, I hope I didn't turn it off. I didn't. Okay. I wanted to just demonstrate examples of their social media real fast. I don't know these girls, but I think they're doing a really great job. So I got an email from an athlete recently that I was like, okay, let me see, what they're working with. And so I just kind of wanted to share real fast their social media. So this is in on Instagram. Don't know this young lady at all, but I really loved the email that she sent. And I don't want to show you the email, but I won't show you the email. But it made me want to click on her video. So actually, I'm gonna stop sharing so I'll read you the email, and then we'll go from there. So an example was, my name is Haley Smith. I'm a Native American part of the Navajo tribe. I'm a dedicated, I just gave you her name. I'm a dedicated softball player from Arizona. I'm a catcher, first baseman. I pride myself on being a leader, right? I'm interested in Hampton, and I liked that she was asking about our camps. It was quick introduction, short introduction, but also very impactful. And I was like, well, let me see, what she's working with. And it was also from her personal email, not from a sports recruit or anything like that. So I wanted to check it out. So I go over to her Instagram, and it's nothing fancy as far as like any major things here. But what I really liked about her Instagram was she had this player profile as an introduction. So what I really liked is that right away I know who this young lady is. Right, I saw a picture of her, and then there's her hitting. What I also liked about her Instagram was just the work that she's doing. I mean, tell your daughters they don't got to be extreme hitting in the rain. Okay, I just want to be clear on that. I think some of the athletes take it a little far, but I do still like that she has this video in here. And I like that she's saying what she's working on. Okay, so I do like that. But one thing that stood out to me is she said that she's a catcher. And so what I noticed, what she did is have videos of her catching. And it's just a progression of her doing different things in her catching, different drills for framing, and she's saying what she's doing. So um, if I am looking for a hitter that's a catcher, perfect. You gave me everything that I needed in a short amount of time within the first few scrolls of your social media. So this is amazing. And I really like what she's doing here. So I wanted to point her out as someone that I thought was on the right track. I also wanted to show something that I think every athlete should do. If you're going to put multiple videos on one clip, what I really like is how she basically wrote out what happened in each clip. So I think a lot of athletes just kind of post all their videos, but then they don't give me any feedback. So I might be like, man, okay, cool. Let me go to she hit on run. Okay, awesome. Let me see what her sack fly looks like. Is the swing consistent? Is it the same? Perfect. Okay, cool. Let me go look at the single. Right. So she's giving me a guide without giving me a guide, just giving me a guide for me to understand what she's showing in her social media. So I really liked hers. Haley, shout out to you. If anybody knows her, she's doing a great job with that. And then there's another one that's pretty extreme. But I think someone asked me last week when I showed Kinsey, who was a eighth grader, her YouTube channel and how exclude like how did up it was, how they're like, man, do I have to hire a graphic designer? And you don't. But this is a Twitter account, and I just wanted to show that this young lady, I also don't know her. But I do like kind of how she created sort of a persona in her social media, and she's kind of gone all out with it. So, from the post in the background to her profile picture, and then even on her video, she has like these sort of overlays of what she's doing on her videos with her contact information. So I thought that was really great and amazing for her. And then what I really like also is I think every athlete should have a summer schedule like this. So something that shows like everything in one space. It's a graphic that they can send via text message, via email. I think it's a really good thing to have. And then she also has a website, so I thought that was pretty cool. So I wanted to show you that. But again, this is not necessary. I just thought it was cool, so I wanted to show you. So I think more along the lines of Haley is completely fine, more plain and simple, but also very impactful. I like that she also has a player profile. This is from the fall, but this is a schedule for her fall season. So I thought that was really good. So graphics like these are really cool with all their information, her coach's information, where they're playing at. It's a really good look. So it's also really helpful to kind of post that and share it around to other people. So yes. So with that, that is what I have for y'all today. Oh, sorry, gosh. Anybody have any questions? Any questions before we roll out of here? I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Stop sharing. Any questions from anybody? Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all for jumping on with me today. As always, I want to be a resource and a support for y'all. I will put information for Dr. Half if anyone's interested in it, feeling like they need a little bit more support around the performance anxiety side of things. But if not, then also I think the 360 Athlete program is a great one. So, hey, Angie, good to see you. And so, yeah, awesome. I appreciate y'all. Thanks, Gina, for jumping in. Thanks, Brett. I appreciate y'all for jumping in. Yeah, absolutely, Brent. Nice for hanging out. And yeah, we'll catch you guys later next Tuesday. Have a good one. Peace.